Peace, and welcome to another episode of the Quranic Remedies, where we spend about 15 minutes exploring a page from the Quran together and seeing how we can apply the verses to our lives. Hopefully, with God's permission, it helps us heal our brain, body, mind, and soul. So today we'll be reading from chapter 7, the elevations, from verses 144 to 149. A'udhu billahi minash shaitanir rajim. I seek refuge to God from the accursed devil. Bismillahir Rahmanir Rahim. In the name of God, the gracious, the merciful. وقال يا موسى إني اصطفيتك على الناس برسالاتي وبكلامي فخذ ما آتيتك وكن من الشاكرين. God said, O Moses, I have chosen you over the people with my messages and my words. So take what I have given you and be from among the grateful. وكتبنا له في الألواح من كل شيء موعظة وتفصيلا لكل شيء فخذها بقوة وأمر قومك يأخذوا بأحسنها سأريكم دار الفاسقين. He wrote for him in the tablets from everything, and admonition and details to everything. So take it with strength and order your people to take from the best of it. I will show you the home of the immoral. سأصرف عن آيات الذين يتكبرون في الأرض بغير حق وإن يروا كل آية لا يؤمنوا بها وإن يروا سبيل الرشد لا يتخذوه سبيلا وإن يروا سبيل الغي يتخذوه سبيلا ذلك بأنهم كذبوا بآياتنا وكانوا عنها غافلين. I will dismiss my signs to those who are haughty in the land without a right. If they see any sign, they will not believe in it. And if they see the way of right guidance, they will not take it as a way. But if they see the way of deviance, they will take it as a way. That is because they belied our signs and were ignorant of them. والذين كذبوا بآياتنا ولقاء الآخرة حبطت أعمالهم هل يجزون إلا ما كانوا يعملون. And those who belie our signs and the arrival of the end, their deeds are voided. Do they get recompensated for other than what they did? واتخذ قوم موسى من بعده من حليهم عجلا جسدا له خوار ألم يروا أنه لا يكلمهم ولا يهديهم سبيلا اتخذوه وكانوا ظالمين. After the departure of Moses, his people embraced from their ornaments a calf statue which had a lowing sound. Did they not see that it did not address them, nor did it guide them away? They became unjust when they accepted it. ولما سقط في أيديهم ورأوا أنهم قد ضلوا قالوا لأن لم يرحمنا ربنا ويغفر لنا لنكونن من الخاسرين. Yet when it fell from their hands and they noticed that they were deluded, they said, if our Lord does not forgive us and pardon us, we will be of the losers. صدق الله العظيم. God the Great said the truth. When Moses reached the meeting with his Lord and he asked to see his Lord, and God showed him a great sign. Moses fell unconscious when God manifested himself to the mountain and he leveled the mountain in them. Moses noticed that the mountain is crumbling next to him and passed out. When he came back, he fully submitted to God and he really came super close to God at this point. And obviously he already had certainty, but his certainty even increased. And he's seen a very powerful way, he's seen a very powerful message and a miracle for him to really submit wholeheartedly. And God now addresses Moses directly. So there was no intermediate between God and Moses. And he talked to Moses directly, saying that he has chosen him over many of his servants and he has filtered him from anyone who was alive at this moment and preferred him with his words and his messages. And this is something where it's incredible and talks about the character of Moses and who Moses was. Obviously, God knows Moses from the moment that Moses was born, and he knew who he would be as a man, as an individual, and as a human. And his relationship with God is truly something that we can ponder about and understand on how much Moses was striving, even in his old age, to please his God and to fulfill what God was asking for him to do. And yet, even before Moses was a messenger, he was capable of recognizing his evil actions, and he would turn to God and ask God for forgiveness. This is something where we can see it is a testimony on who he is as an individual. And you can also go as far later in the Quran when you realize that he grew up in the house of Pharaoh, that Pharaoh took him in, well, the wife of Pharaoh took him in. So he was from a young age exposed to all the blasphemous things and all the lies that Pharaoh was perpetrating. But yet Moses stayed strong and he held on to his roots and who he is and where he came from and the Lord of his forefathers, was the Lord of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. So we can see that Moses is someone that is extremely special and someone who we can truly learn from his character and the way that he approached his relationship with God. And as a reward, God did pick him as a messenger, and this is a very honorable position for any human to have. Uh, God then addresses us, well, through what he did with Moses. And this is also a reflection to what we have in the Quran, where God states that to Moses he has given him tablets, and in those tablets he wrote from everything. Yes, so someone can make the argument that, well, no, well, I mean, the tablets did not include all the sciences and all the other types of knowledge. But here we're talking about when it comes down to the guidance on what you need to do, it has everything that you need in regards to the laws and what you should do and what you shouldn't do and how you approach your relationship with God. Because this world and the knowledge that is pertaining to this world is actually quite temporary. But the knowledge on how to approach your Lord and how to serve your Lord, this is something that is going to be everlasting, especially when you get to heaven. So when God is telling him that he has given him from everything and an admonition and a explanation for all things, this is in regards to guidance. And this is the similar argument that God gives us in the Quran, that this Quran contains everything that you need. It is fully detailed, and it has admonition for everything. And God is also now telling Moses, and this is something that we should also apply in regards to the book that we have given him, that we have received right here in front of us, the Quran, that we should take it with strength. And obviously, this is someone that is going to be persistent and patient and steadfast on the word that has been given to him. And we should also order our people and the people around us to take it with strength and to take the best of it. Unfortunately, there's people that hear the words of God and they take it as a chore and they just try to fulfill the bare minimum of what they need to do. While the people who do take it with strength try to follow in the best way that they can follow. So they see the words and they see how these words are fitting the examples and the situations that they're in. They find the right way of approaching the matter and they fully commit because they know that that's the guidance of their Lord. Instead of allowing their whims and desires and their entertainment and whatever they want in this world to take over, and they use the religion as a way to just fulfill certain chores, to think that they have some stance with God, but yet because they're giving the bare minimum, they're going to receive the bare minimum if the bare minimum is actually sufficient for them to make it on the day of judgment. Because God is also telling us that he's going to show us, as he showed Moses, that he's going to tell us about the home of the immoral. Now, the word that is being used here is fasiq, which means the one that is stripping himself away from what God has ordered or from the order of someone who's in authority. Now, al-fasiqeen is a form of hypocrisy where they say they believe in God and they know the word of God, but yet they choose to do otherwise. It's because of their own greed or their own arrogance. And then God does describe to us the way of these people, the people of the hypocrites. These are the people who, when they've received the signs of God and they've been given the message, they end up being arrogant on the land without a right. Now, the word hati, and to be someone mutakabbir fil ard, there is times where you are permitted to do so. And this is why God is not giving us filler language, where he's saying those who are becoming like big in the land without a right. And when I'm saying big, in a sense of dominating and showing a strength and a force. Yes, in a moment when you are a person that is being persecuted by an oppressor, you have the right to stand and you have the right to try to diminish the light of your opponent, and by pushing them down and suppressing them. This is when you have the right to show that strength and to show how big you can be. But most of the time when we see the people who are denying the signs of God, they become arrogant and they try to show superiority in the land, to take over and to take power and to not push people to righteousness, but rather to make money and for them to substantiate their position on earth. These people, when they have seen the signs, they've denied them. And because of their denial, they naturally start to follow the paths that are not correct, the paths of immorality and the paths of desires and the paths of lack of righteousness. And when they recognize the path that they should take, they won't take it as a way, because it's not something that would be and that's not something that is decorated for them, but rather it seems like something that might be boring for them, or something that for them would be humiliating and embarrassing. but it is the best way of actually approaching life. And God is telling us this, the reason that they do that is because they have belied the signs and became ignorant of them. So it's not that because they're bad people, they've never received the signs. What made them bad is that they have seen the signs, they were told what the message is, and yet they chose to ignore it until they became numb to it. And they started to stop recognizing the signs, and they started to persist in what they wanted to do. Obviously, we've seen a very clear example earlier in regards to of Pharaoh and the signs that Pharaoh received. He did not accept it as miracles from God until the punishment came. And when the punishment came, at that point, he was willing to trade it all just for another chance for him to live another day or for another moment in whatever he was in. But this is going to be reflected on anyone who denies the signs of God and the verses of God when they're being presented to them. And God states to us that those who belie our signs and deny the day of judgment, deny the arrival of the end, these are people who are not going to measure and judge their actions in a way that is objective. It's always going to be a subjective way of seeing their actions, which ends up always filled with, it's going to end up with being filled with justifications and reasons why they do, and they will never admit fault, nor can they see a fault within them. Their deeds get decorated to them, and they always think that they're doing good on earth, and that the reason why they're doing what they're doing is because of something that is positive for them, for their people, but yet it's the complete opposite. And God is saying that this is their reward. And why would God reward somebody other than what they deserved? Now we go back to the children of Israel and what the children of Israel did after the departure of Moses to the appointment with his Lord. Now, they are under the impression that Moses was supposed to go for 30 days, but Moses came late for 10 days. And after his departure, even though Moses told Aaron to be upright and to make sure that his people do not sway out of the course, we can see here that the children of Israel overpowered Aaron, and at the same time they started to worship this golden calf, that it was an ornament. It produced a sound, whether because of the wind, it would be considered a mechanical sound because of the word in Arabic that's used, which is khuwar, which is something where it can be understood like the wind would hit on it and it would make a certain sound. And for them that was exceptional, and they took it as a miracle, but yet it had a scientific understanding. And this is where we can now distinguish between what a miracle is, where it goes outside of the realm of what is considered normal, and it does not have an explanation. It has no way for science to explain what happened here. But rather, if it's something that can be scientifically understood and something that can be proven and repeated, then at that point it's not a sign from God, but rather this is from God's creation, and this is from the programming of God. This specific golden statue, it did not respond to them. It did not move. It did not do anything. It was just an idol that they took because of what they saw the other people worshiping earlier, and they were wishing for such a thing. And Moses admonished them and told them that this is something that is what the ignorant want to do. And they followed that ignorant, and they denied the signs. And you can clearly see now that they have become unjust by accepting such a fake idol or a fake deity. And the thing that was interesting here in these verses, which is being presented to us, is that there was an incident where whatever they were carrying, what they were considering their God, and it fell from their hands, and it fell and it couldn't protect itself. And if that was God, then why didn't God protect himself? And at that point, the children of Israel, they recognized that they diluted, they were gone. They fell from the grace of God, and they fell from what they were supposed to do. They recognized that what the messenger told them was true, but they didn't obey the messenger. And God shows us in the Quran that if you do not obey the messenger, you might be tested or face a punishment, because what the messenger is ordering you, it's not for the benefit of the messenger, but rather the benefit of yourself. The messenger is capable of seeing certain things and seeing a certain path that you yourself might not have the ability to understand, because the messenger has been picked by God and he was preferred by God. And therefore the messenger's understanding is going to be a little bit better than yours. And when he's ordering you something and he's telling you to do something, you might find a reason in yourself why he could be wrong or why it could be permitted. But this is because of your own ability and your own understanding. God is not picking messengers out of random, but rather he knows more about the messengers than the messengers know about themselves. And they have the right character, and they have the right ability, and they have the right intellect to make the decisions that they need to make in regards to what God has trained these messengers for. There's a very much big difference between a messenger telling you something and you reaching a conclusion based upon what you believe God has said. But this one is a very clear example. When they wanted and they thought that it was okay to have a representation of the God of Abraham in a way where it is something that is on the land, a rock, a statue. But here they chose something that is extremely weird, which is a golden calf, and said that this is the God of Moses. But Moses has already instructed them that this is the path of perdition, this is the path of destruction, and yet they still opted to take it. Notice how it didn't take much time. This was within a month after this was said to them. When Moses left for less than 30 days or 40 days, so he was supposed to leave for a month, but he left for 40 days. They fell into an error and they've already got deluded. And this is yet Moses passing away. And we can see how fast a human being is capable of falling from the grace of God and associating something to God which is not the truth. And among them was another messenger that they've also denied, and they persisted in their desires and what they wanted. And if it wasn't for God's mercy on the human being and God's forgiveness, all of us would be destroyed and are worthy of being annihilated, because we just truly cannot upkeep the simple basic concepts that God has given us because of our own internal desires. This is something that we have to reflect upon and not allow ourselves to break ourselves and to break the commandments of God. And this is done by regular practice and moving away from what the disbelievers want to do, and for us to focus on what God wants us to do. Because God has shown us the path of righteousness, and he has shown us the path of deviance. And it's for us to recognize which is the correct path and to follow the correct path. This world, for the believer, it might seem like a lonely road, or it might seem like a long and a tiring road. But truthfully, when you do take the ropes of God and you walk the way that God has wanted you to walk, it saves you from a lot of pain, and it gives you a lot of peace, and it gives you a lot of enjoyment in the way the human should be experiencing joy, instead of desires and other things that take you away from the path of God. With that said, I hope you guys are enjoying these. All praise to God, the Lord of the worlds, and peace be upon you.